I just want to show you two examples, all right? Two examples. Number 5 does a really good job getting off the block. All right, he's in pretty good position to make contact with the ball carrier. But what foot does he not get down through the ball carrier's crotch? It's that right foot. It's his leverage foot. He doesn't get it down. He doesn't take that extra step and get it through that ball carrier's center of mass. As a result, hey, FBS backs are going to break that tackle. He doesn't get that foot down. That ball carrier is able to break the tackle. Now look at the difference between him and number 13. Now number 13, boom, he gets that left foot down. He gets that left foot down. It's through that ball carrier's center of mass, and he's able to make that play. All right, leverage foot in the ground, absolutely critical. We want to make sure that, again, it's in the ground because that's where all our force is going to come from. All right, we talk about thick tackles. All right, we want a large surface area of us as a defender to make contact with a large surface area of that ball carrier. So when we talk about the initial, how we want to strike ball carriers, we want to strike them with our tackling plate. All right, we don't want to do that with the top of our shoulder. We want to hit them with that breastplate on our shoulder pad. All right, why do we say that? Number one, it promotes better hip and pad level. All right, if I think about striking with my shoulder pad, all right, a lot of times it's going to put me in this position. All of a sudden, hey, my butt's back and my head is down. If I'm going to strike you with my tackling plate, all right, with my chest, all of a sudden I'm in a better power position. My head is up. All right, number one, it's safer, but it's going to allow us for a larger surface area of contact. But also, it's going to put us in a better tackling position. All right, to exert force on the rise, and it's going to allow us to change that ball carrier's center of gravity and change his center of mass more effectively. All right, so here's a drill we'll do in the summer. It's just a med ball strike drill. We're just working on throwing a punch with that strike plate, with that tackling plate. All right, I'll get to that, kind of throwing a punch with our shoulder, but that's what that means. When we want to strike, we want to focus on making impact, all right, with that tackle plate. And I love having that med ball because you can see where guys truly, where that med ball truly hits their shoulder or it hits them on the chest. All right, timing up that strike and working on, hey, really feeling striking with that tackling plate. All right, but again, just dropping the med ball, having those guys come out of their hips, and boom, all right, strike that med ball. The coaching point we'll use in that drill, hey, try to go hit a home run with your chest. And we're trying to hit that ball as hard as we can. Ultimately, we'll clamp on it to finish, but we really want to strike that med ball with our tackling plate. Okay, here's an in-game example. Watch number 4 right here, running inside out on the screen. Does a great job. All right, boom, striking with that tackling plate. And you see that power position that he's in. His head is up. He's got a great base. He's got a large surface area of his body on that ball carrier's body. Now he can go exert force and change the shape of the ball carrier. That's a good look at striking with the tackling plate. Watch number 5 down here at the bottom of your screen. All right, again, does a really good job. Bam, strike plate tackle, large surface area of his body on a large surface area of that ball carrier. All right, that's a nice thick tackle. All right, making contact with that strike plate on his breastplate. That's where we're making contact right there. Really good look. Really good look. All right. Now let's talk about the strike zone, where we actually want to strike ball carriers. I think this is something that's important to define. All right, number one, to be an effective tackler. Number 2, to stay safe, and number 3, to avoid penalties. All right, so we'll talk about the tackling strike zone, and for us, that's going to be the bottom of a ball carrier's thigh boards to his diaphragm, or the base of his pecs. That's where we want to make contact. All right, that's where we want to make contact. All right, the reason we do this, again, it's the most effective way to change that ball carrier's shape, but also it's the most effective way to avoid targeting penalties. All right, if you keep your strike zone low in that range, we're going to avoid targeting penalties. All right. Here's a great look from the Detroit Lions. I want you to watch number 21 right here, safety at the top of the screen. All right, does a really good job on the hank route over the ball, right here, making contact in that strike zone. All right, not launching, not attacking up at the head, shoulder, neck area. All right, but truly staying in that strike zone. You can still make a big time, aggressive, violent hit. All right, and stay within the rules and be fundamentally sound. That's a really good look at it right there, hitting in the strike zone. All right. Again, when we talk about the strike component of our tackling progression, we want to change the physical shape of the ball carrier. All right, to do that, all right, we have to transfer force. There has to be force transfer from us to that ball carrier. All right, to transfer force, that means we've got to create and maintain stiffness in our body at the point of contact. All right, that's the only way we're able to transfer that force. All right, so I can hit something as hard as I can, but if I can't maintain that isometric shape, if I can't maintain that stiffness through my body, that force ultimately isn't going to be transferred. It doesn't matter how much force I generate if I can't transfer that force to the ball carrier. All right, so again, we talk about maintaining our isometric shape. All right, what does that mean? That means we want to be nice and tight and braced through our shoulder, through our core, and through our hips. All right. That's going to allow us to exert. Again, if I can generate a bunch of force, but I can't transfer it, all right, it's not as effective. But if I can effectively transfer that force, all right, that's how we're going to physically change the shape of the ball carrier. All right, this is where I think, hey, it's a great thing to coach your guys on. Hey, their strength program, it matters. Your strength and conditioning program matters. All right, all the bracing, the core work, and trunk strengthening that you do, it matters, and it translates to your ability to be able to transfer that force on a ball carrier. All right, being able to maintain your shape under an external load, whether it's a heavy back squat, front squat, catching an Olympic lift, whatever the case is, that stuff directly translates, all right, to being able to, again, generate that force on a ball carrier and creating big hits. All right, I like to think of it this way. All right, you can either be a baseball bat or you could be a pool noodle. All right, I can hit you as hard as I wanted to with a pool noodle, not really going to affect you as much. But if I took that Louisville Slugger and I came and hit you, you would feel that. We want to be baseball bats. All right, what does that mean? We want to be stiff, we want to be firm, we want to transfer that force, all right, at the point of contact. Here's a couple great looks at maintaining our stiffness through that point of contact and really transferring the force. You see the overhang right here on a blitz coming outside in, bam! Really good job maintaining that isometric shape through his right shoulder, through his trunk, through his right hip. We're able to transfer that force for a big-time knockback tackle right there. All right, here's another look at it right here. The field corner, probably the smallest guy on our defense this past season, all right, does a great job, all right, of bracing through his right shoulder, his trunk, through his right hip, keeping his isometric shape and transferring that force. All right, you tell me or not if that physical shape of that ball carrier is getting changed right there. Bam, big time. That's what it should look like right there. All right. All right, now another part, when we talk about the strike component, all right, and really it really dovetails with that idea of maintaining stiffness through contact, all right, is this, all right, this coaching point, hard shoulder, hard hip. Hard shoulder, hard hip. I alluded to this a little bit already. All right, when we talk about a hard shoulder, when we make contact, we want to throw a punch with our leveraged shoulder. All right, we want to throw a punch with our leveraged shoulder. So the coaching cue right there, all right, is to keep that shoulder square and to keep it firm. All right, keep that shoulder square and keep it firm. Again, we want to transfer that force. All right, and this is something we'll even practice when we do our whiz tempo, our tag tempo. All right, instead of just running by and tagging off on a guy's hip, we want to punch through his backside hip, because what does that emphasize? Throwing a punch with that leveraged shoulder. We want to punch down and through to emphasize, again, throwing that punch with that leveraged shoulder. All right. So there's the hard shoulder component. Then there's this hard hip component. What does that mean? We want to keep our leveraged hip square to and through the point of contact. All right. Again, we talk about that power position. We want to have a great base. We want to have a great level. All those things. All right. But then we want to keep the shape of our leveraged hip, again, to and through contact. All right. What does this mean? All right. That's not going to allow a ball carrier, all right, to continue to move forward. All of a sudden, if I lose the shape, that isometric shape of my leverage hip, all right, that's when ball carriers fall forward. They get leaky yards, things like that. We want to maintain the shape, maintain the isometric shape of that hip. We want to keep it nice and square, nice and firm. That's how we hit things thick. That's how we knock them back. All right, I think it's a critical component. When you talk about rugby-style tackling or leverage-based tackling, I think sometimes that's a big critique. I remember I was coaching Chris Spielman's son. He came and watched film with me one time. Talked about, hey, tackling. You teaching head across? How are you? Why not? Because if you're teaching head behind, how can you knock things back? I didn't have a great answer. This whole idea of hard shoulder, hard hip, I thought was the best way to kind of address that idea of, hey, we're going to still be a leverage-based tackling team, but we're going to knock things backward. All right, we're going to knock things backward. Again, hard shoulder, hard hip, to and through contact. All right. And I love the way we do it at UTEP. Even when we're doing our thud periods, all right, we have to stop the charge of the ball carrier for that whistle to be blown. What does that mean? That means we better get our freaking leverage foot down through that ball carrier. We better throw a hard shoulder. We better have a thick tackle. We better throw a hard punch with our leverage shoulder, have a hard shoulder and a hard hip to stop that ball carrier's charge. All right, running by, tagging off on the dude's hip, tagging off on his butt as he runs by. Hey, that drill's still going. The ball's still running. All right, we have to stop his charge. I think it's been an effective way that we can really reinforce, hey, what our tackles want to look like. All right, what the ideal tackle for us. All right. I want you to watch number 8 right here. All right, coming down in this strike component, having a hard shoulder and a hard hip. You see he does a great job. Boom, throwing a punch with that leverage shoulder. All right, he's firm through that left shoulder, firm with that left hip, hard shoulder, hard hip. All right, able to get the ball carrier on the ground. Now, again, corner, smallest guy in our defense from a year ago. Another great look at it right here. Love this. Hard shoulder, hard hip. Look at that left hip staying nice and square. Look at that left shoulder staying nice and firm. He throws a punch with that left shoulder. All right. He's hard through that leverage shoulder, hard through the hip. Boom, able to put this guy down for a knock him back tackle. Love it. All right. Now,